And I guess auto manufacturing or high-end manufacturing of durable goods in general sort of ties into the export problem. The President and the White House have talked about wanting to double exports. It's always a great ideal to think about doubling exports, but what really is important is the net effect of trade. If we do, in fact, double our exports of Boeing Dreamliners, or even of General Motors, the Chevy Volt, for instance, a lot of the components in these things are imported. So the value added, the mainline production, is done overseas, and we almost just snap them together like Legos. What is it that we need to do to bring back these, bring the economies of scale back, bring the supply chains back? Or has the horse already left the barn at this point?
Well, that is the ultimate question. Craig, I as a young journalist, worked in the United States, in New York, for Forbes magazine, and had a green card in those days. I no longer have a green card, and therefore I'm really a foreigner looking into the United States. I feel a little bit diffident about telling President Obama how he should run things, but I would just direct your attention to the way that similar crises have been solved in the past by other administrations within the United States and also administrations abroad. The common thread in many of these cases has been protectionism, tariffs. And we saw that with, for instance, President Nixon back in the early 1970s, when America for the first time really started running trade deficits. President Nixon, to his great credit, acted very firmly with a temporary tariff to try to get things under control, and to a large extent that was successful. Other countries in East Asia, particularly China, Japan, Korea, Taiwan, they've all at times had quite protectionist policies, continue indeed to have such policies. These policies have pluses and minuses. In the American debate, the minuses are generally emphasized, but there are pluses as well. On balance, for a country that is in the situation that the United States is in today, it is probably the case that the pluses should be considered more seriously than they have been so far in the current debate.
I'm reminded of a quote from Ronald Reagan. He wanted to emphasize during his administration free and fair trade between free and fair traders. Now, the actual policies that his administration pursued weren't so much in the line of what the quote said. We've been running trade deficits every year since 1976, exploding during the 80s, 90s, and growing just exponentially during the 2000s. But the problem really is that mercantilism never ended, it just evolved. We like to think that we're in a free trade society, but the only country that actually involves itself really much in free trade is the United States. Everyone else seems to be almost a free rider problem. Do you see it that way? Is mercantilism still alive and well?
It depends. Some countries in Europe are quite open, but there is a degree of mercantilism in the European Union as a whole, and certainly some of the more successful economies in the European Union seem to me to have some protectionist policies under the surface. The major problem, however, I think is in East Asia, where all these countries that have done well in the last 30, 40 years have used trade barriers of one sort or another to improve their position.
Eamonn, thank you for joining us. Your published works are phenomenal, and it's great to have a perspective from someone, particularly as a self-proclaimed outsider to the United States, to have the perspective that you offer, the light you sort of shine on these issues from the outside. It's just something that we don't often see, and I want to thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Craig.
And thank you for watching.
Wake up, America! Open up your eyes! Wake up, America! Wake up!